Okay, thanks. So Langchain can be applied in a wide range of scenarios. For example, in chatbots, it allows us to provide the right context for each user, and it also allows to integrate the chatbot into existing communication channels through APIs. And it also enables, for instance, summarization tasks like breaking down complex academic concepts or summarize emails. Another use case is also question answering because Langchain can retrieve the most relevant information from documents, for instance, and then generate answers, even with data that wasn't even part of the model's original training data set. So it's also really useful for data augmentation since it can generate synthetic data that look like real examples and support machine learning pipelines. Moreover, Langchain can power virtual agents, so it can let LLM autonomously decide the next step and then execute it, often through what we call robotic process automation, RPA. And finally, it can also integrate a long-term memory into AI systems, which is especially valuable for making chatbots, virtual assistants, and also customer support systems. And they can be more consistent and more human-like over time. So let's get to the next slide. Please, thanks. So we can imagine a user she's on a phone and she asks she opens an app and she says, "Oh, what's the weather today in Rio de Janeiro?" And Langchain can in fact handle the full process of answering her question because Langchain will understand the user's question with an LLM. Then he will ask an agent to decide whether it needs maybe a weather API. Then it can call the API tool and then fetch the temperature in Rio de Janeiro today, and then format the response in a natural way for the user to understand it. And so without Langchain, the developer would have to manually do the API calls. It will have to format the results. And so Langchain really does this with much less code and therefore less complexity. And also, developer can create this assistant in a few lines sometimes, but it often the developer has to build the full pipeline himself. And with Langchain, it's really much easier. And we can also use OpenAI models, for instance, at the beginning of our project and say, oh, I want to switch to Mistral AI or an Anthropic model. And Langchain allows to easily swap between the providers. So it's really easy. And there are also advanced features that are available thanks to Langchain, such as calling multiple API. So it's really possible to do this with Langchain. But there are bits of drawbacks because Langchain abstracts very, very often, and sometimes developers can say that they can't customize the pipeline as much as they want to, and because Langchain can seem abstract, it becomes sometimes more difficult for the developer to debug when sometimes there are bugs. So So yes, sometimes the developer can feel really a dependency on the framework, on the Langchain framework. But for and we also have to remember that for very simple application, such like calling just one API, Langchain may be too much, and we maybe can do it ourselves, and we don't really have to rely every time on Langchain. So that's it for the part. I will let Beatrice present it.